So I was sitting here with Mr. Bones and we were trying to figure out a cool lesson to do, and he came up with the idea of doing bones. So we're going to do bones, alright? So I got a bunch of cool stuff here that we're going to talk about. I do have a mini experiment that we can do, and I'll kind of go over that first for you. So as you can see, I have distilled vinegar, white vinegar, and I put it inside this little jar. It's not clear right now because I've had these chicken bones inside for a few days now, so it was clear whenever I put them in. But what we're going to be doing is just this is a good opportunity to actually cook some chicken wings too, if you like chicken wings. So you can eat them and then take the bones after, put them in some vinegar, and then leave them in there. You're going to have to leave them in there for a week. So it's going to be a little smelly. I accidentally spilled some vinegar in my car on the way here, so my car is going to be smelling a little bit. But that's okay. So have them in there for a week, and I can go ahead and talk about what's going to happen. So the vinegar is acidic, right? So when you have bones are made up of pretty much two compounds. So collagen, which kind of gives the framework to the bones. It kind of gives you the structure of the bone. And then you have calcium carbonate, which is calcium. That's why whenever you hear of people drinking milk to get strong bones, because milk has a lot of calcium. So the collagen forms the structure to the bone, and then the calcium carbonate fills in. It's a mineral that fills into that collagen, and it gives it its structure and it gives it its strength. Because if it just had collagen, it would just be flopping around. It wouldn't be too strong. Sorry. But anyway, so you're going to put the chicken bones in the vinegar, and then what's going to happen is the vinegar is going to dissolve the calcium carbonate. And when that happens, all that will be left is the collagen, and the bones should be flimsy. So we will see. I'm not going to be able to open it because I've only had it in there for a few days now. But then whenever we do the next lesson, which will be about bones again, we will open this up and see if the bones are flimsy. Yeah. So we talked about what bones are made out of. Let's go ahead and talk about the functions of bones, right? So if you think about bones, they're nice and strong, right? So without bones, what do you think would happen? I'd be like a sack of flesh. I'd just fall down to the ground. I wouldn't be able to stand up tall. I wouldn't be able to talk to you. So the muscles work with the bones to kind of move the bones, but the bones gives us structure, right? So that's why I'm able to stand tall and stand here and talk to you right now. But they also have some other functions, right? So they protect our body organs, right? So our ribs cover, like Mr. Bones right here, he's got his ribs, and he's got all these organs inside. If he wasn't a skeleton, if he was a real person, he would have all these organs underneath the ribs, so that if something hit him, it would be able to protect his organs, his bodily organs, which are really important, right? And then we also have the skull, right? So whenever you're born, the skull is in a bunch of different areas, so it's not formed all the way correctly. But as you grow up, those plates in your skull will start to fuse together, and that will cause a sort of helmet like this skull is right here to protect your brain, right? Yeah, so they protect our organs, they give us structure, allow us to move with the help of the muscles, right? But then there's also another function. They give blood oxygen, right? So if you think about a bone, do you think it's alive or dead? Do you think the bone is alive or dead? Well, it is alive. So even though it might not seem like it, it's got bone marrow inside of the bone, specifically in the femur. So in your leg, there's a lot of bone marrow right here. And what will happen is the red blood cells will go into the bone marrow to get new oxygen, to kind of recycle, because they recycle the oxygen, and then they'll go back out into the body so that they can give oxygen to the rest of the body, which is pretty cool. So that bone marrow is really important, and it's inside the bone, right? So bones are alive, which is pretty cool to think about. So I got a lot of skulls here. Skulls are really cool. One thing I can talk about is with the teeth. So you can understand the type of diet animals have whenever you look at the animals' teeth in their skulls, right? So if I look right here, we've obviously got he obviously eats meat, right? So he's got these sharp canines. This is a coyote skull right here. So he's got these sharp canines right in the front. And what are canines used for? So let's go ahead and back up for a second. Let's talk about our teeth. All right. So we got some flat teeth like this in the front, right? We got our buck teeth, and those are used to kind of slice things, right? So if you bite into an apple, you slice the piece of apple off. And then you have the canines, right? These canines right here. What do you do with those? You rip meat off. So if you take a bite of a piece of beef jerky, right? You bite it right here and you rip it off just like that. That's what canines are used for tearing meat, pretty much, right? And then you got these big molars in the back, those big teeth that are used to break up all that food that you're eating, to increase the surface area of it so it can digest easier, and pretty much just smash it down to where you can digest it, right? So those are some cool things. But if you look at the coyote skull, something that's really cool is it's got the canines in the front, right? But one thing it has that's special is the back molars are still sharp. So if in a little bit when I show you molars of other animals, they're usually not super sharp. But the reason they have that, you can kind of see how these teeth overlap the bottom teeth, right? These teeth right here. Sorry, I can't talk. What that is for is it's for to crush bones and meat. So he's got really strong molars, and they're really sharp, so they can bite down on the meat and the bones to crush them, so that he can eat them. Which is kind of crazy because coyotes will eat everything. They'll eat bones. They'll eat fur. If you look at coyote poop, which not a lot of people look at coyote poop, you'll see fur all in there. You'll see bones in there. It's pretty crazy, right? So I showed you the coyote teeth. They're pretty cool. They're really sharp. Let's go ahead and show you an herbivore, right? So we have this white-tailed deer right here, and you can see the bottom of the teeth. They're really big. They're like the molars, right? So that's just going to be used to grind up all that grass that it eats, all the vegetation, to break it up to where it can digest it easier, right? So whenever you have something that's like whenever you're eating grass, it's going to break it down by mushing hard down on it, grinding it a little bit so that it can break it apart and digest. But something that's really cool with animals is you can tell pretty much their age by their teeth. So like if we look at the white-tailed deer, right, you can see 6 teeth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So you can see 6 teeth right here. This is an adult white-tailed deer. But if I go over to this jawbone that I have, which this is deer teeth as well. These ones only have 4 teeth. So you can see it's got 1, 2, 3, and then it's got this really big molar right there, that back molar. So this is a fawn. So it's a baby deer, right? So whenever deers are babies, they're only gonna have 4 teeth. And then as they get older, they'll grow those bigger teeth. And humans kind of have the same thing, but it's we have our baby teeth, right? And so if you look at a child's baby teeth, if you looked at a skull, it would look really crazy because it would have a bunch of teeth up inside of their face that haven't come down yet. And those are the adult teeth waiting for the baby teeth to fall out to where they can grow. So if you looked at a skull of an infant, it would look really crazy. It would look kind of freaky looking because it does have that extra teeth right there. But yeah, so the 4 teeth, that shows that it's a fawn. And then it's got the 6 teeth right here. It grows those back 2 molars towards the end when it's getting a little bit older, which is pretty cool. All right, let's go over to this guy. So he's got kind of a wide face, right? Or a long face, but then it's kind of wide out here. This is a raccoon. So you can see the raccoon's got some, raccoon will eat anything, right? He's an omnivore. He's got these canine teeth right here, so he can't eat meat. He's got some molars back here. They're still pretty sharp for gnawing on stuff, right, to break it down, to crush things. But he's got some molars back there that are used like the herbivores do, just to break down stuff. in the surface, like to increase the surface area again. So you can tell a lot by the teeth. This guy is a possum. So I really like possums. Possums are one of my favorite animals, just because they're really unique, right? They're the only marsupials in the United States. But you can see it's got these canine teeth and these sharp teeth right here, but then it also has the molars back here, right? For chomping down stuff, for grinding, to making sure it can break that surface area. Pretty much almost all of those animals, all of these animals are gonna have molars. There's a few that don't, and I'll show you those. But possums are really cool. Possums also have a body temperature that's too cool for the rabies virus to enter their body. So possums cannot get rabies, which is really cool to think about. Next,
Someone asked, what is a marsupial?
Oh, a marsupial, okay. So, you know of some marsupials. Whenever you think of a kangaroo is a marsupial. What does a kangaroo have right here? It's got a pouch, right? So, marsupial is pretty much a mammal with a pouch to hold their babies. So we have kangaroos, we have sugar gliders, we have possums, and they can have 3 babies at one time, and they can all store their babies right there in their pouch. With possums, it's pretty crazy because this doesn't have anything to do with bones, but I'm going to show you this cool fact anyway. So when they're in the pouch, the babies, the nipples are in there for them to drink the milk, right? So the babies, actually, the nipples are super, super long. They look like spaghetti noodles, which is pretty crazy. And so the possum has to swallow that whole noodle and then drink the milk like that. So whenever there's like a possum that's injured or something, a baby possum, and it needs to be fed milk, it's really hard for people at like rehabilitation centers to feed them because they have to shove pretty much a lozenge, or not a lozenge, kind of a syringe, pipette thing down their throat to feed them. I kind of learned that a little while ago when I was with my friend, and it's pretty crazy. But that doesn't have anything to do with Bones. Mr. Bones is kind of getting aggravated because I'm going off subject. So let's go back. Right? We got... who's jaw separated? Okay, this one's kind of cool. Who do you think this is? Look at this dude's teeth. They're like little nubs, little stubs. And so if you put them together... Oh, there we go. They fit just like that. So you can obviously tell he's not that big of a predator, right? Because he doesn't have real sharp teeth to grab onto things and to make sure he can get a good grip onto it. These canine teeth are pretty sharp. They'll stick in there and they'll hold on for a while, right? But it doesn't mean he doesn't eat meat, right? So this guy is an armadillo. It's really small. He's got these nubby teeth. He'll usually just eat insects. But he's not good at catching the prey, but he's good at finding it and then snuffing it out and then eating it. Insects aren't hard to grab. They're pretty small, so they're pretty easy to grab onto. But he munches on it and he'll grind his teeth like this to break it up and he'll swallow it, right? The more you chew, so like with us, the more we chew our food, the more it'll break down and the faster it'll digest. So whenever you're eating, you want to chew your food, right? You want to make sure you're chewing nice and a lot of times just so you can break it down enough. All right, let's move over to the rodents. So we have this little guy. You can see the 2 front teeth right here. You got one on top and one on bottom. Then if you look right there, you can see the small little molars it's got in the back. So this is a squirrel. A squirrel skull and a rat skull kind of look similar. They're a little bit different, but something that's similar with all rodents is these teeth will continue to grow, right? So they have to keep gnawing on stuff to wear them down, right? So they have strong enamel on the front, but then on the back they don't have strong enamel, and so they're able to gnaw things down. Because if they didn't, their teeth would grow into their skulls, so they would have a really hard time to adjust to that. So they have to keep gnawing down their teeth to make sure that it's grinding. And then we got this big guy. What do you think this dude's teeth are? So this is This is a beaver. This is a beaver. He's got some pretty big buck teeth, right? Yeah. So he's got to continue on down on those trees, right, to make sure that he can keep these at a good length so they're not growing too far. He's got these real big molars, this real strong jaw. You can see how the molars are way back here in the jaw. And so whenever an animal, this is with us too, you've seen how the jaw kind of extends into this socket right here. With all of us, so with us we have that too. And that's where the muscle goes up. So the muscle will come up here into the skull, and that helps it bite down and retract it, or bite down like this and squeeze real hard to make sure that you're biting and crushing what you're eating, right? So he's got some pretty strong teeth way in the back, so he's got a lot of strength back there to bite down on all that, which is pretty cool. All right, next we are going to go to the birds, right? Actually, hold on. This container said squirrel, but this is not a squirrel bone at all. This is a tooth or something. So this you can tell is herbivores, or like the big molars in the back that are used to grind down. This is what they look like. See how big it is? So it looks like it might be, we'll talk about whose it is later. I was thinking it was one of our skulls over there, and we're going to show you that, but I'm going to try and see if you can guess who it is. I'll give you some hints though to help you figure it out, but I think these are his teeth. So we'll see in a little bit. They look a lot similar to them, but let's go back. All right, so let's go over to the birds, right? So with the bird skulls, you'll notice that they have beaks of all sorts of shapes and sizes, right? So if we go over to the little pigeon, it's got a real small beak. It's not super strong, so the pigeon is not biting on seeds to break the seeds down. It doesn't need to have a strong beak to do that. It's just going to kind of pick things up as it goes, find some small little grubs. Like in the city, it's going to find whatever it can, right? But on the beach, yeah, so you can look, you can see it's a pigeon, little beak. And then on the beach, it's going to probably take a lot of the tourists' food. So that they'll get whatever they can, but they can't bite down hard onto seeds to kind of break down the seeds. But something that can, let me see. Oh, let's see like this one. This one cannot do that as well. But you can notice how there's a little hook right there. There's a little hook right there in the beak. And so whenever you see a hook along the beak line, that's a predatory bird. So that bird's going after things and eating them, right? So yeah, that hook is used to kind of bite down and grab onto it, and then it'll eat it whole, right? So they have gizzards down in their body that help them break down all the food, but they're gonna swallow it whole usually. And then we can go over. So we see that hook right there. Let's show you a bigger hook on one of them. All right, this dude, pretty cool. All right. This right here, you see that real long hook, and it goes real sharp down, right? So we got the bottom jaw too, the bottom beak. This is an owl. So owls are really good predators. They have that hook right there so they can snatch things, take it with them. This is actually a great horned owl. They're from Alaska in northern Canada, which is really cool. Owls are really quiet. They're the silent killers. They'll swoop down and take things before you even know it. But they usually go after like rodents, rabbits, stuff like that. Small animals, right? That they can get their talons on, grab it, and then they can use that horn to kind of rip stuff off and kind of swallow it, right? So those horns are able to help rip up meat and stuff like that. All right. This guy is super cool. We have some of these here. Can anybody guess what this is? Can anybody guess what this is? You can see the long beak. We have some here in Florida, in the Emerald Coast. I'll give you a little time to guess, if you can. You can notice this long beak. So what it can use, usually what it does is it'll just grab things. So this is a predatory bird, right? But it'll just usually grab things with the bottom and top bill, kind of like little pinchers, little tongs. But also what it can do if it needs to is really quick, what it'll do is it'll fly, stab it with its beak. And so when it stabs it with its beak, it'll close its beak to make sure it's nice and sharp. You can see how sharp it is right at the tip. It'll stab it with its beak to kill it, and then it'll kind of push it off with its beak and then eat it whole. This bird is a blue heron. We have some of these here. You've probably seen them. They're really, really pretty birds. They're really pretty to look at. But yeah, it's a blue heron, guys. So those are pretty cool. All right, let's go ahead and move to the bat. You see this bat right here? This isn't a skeleton, but I do have a skeleton right here. So I'm gonna get a little bit closer just so you can see. All right, so right here is the bat skeleton. So bat skeletons have the thinnest bones. These are its fingers right here. So these fingers that kind of come down, you can see the 4 fingers. It's got a thumb up here. It's really cool because their arms are really similar to humans. Just the structure of the skeleton, they have both a radius and an ulna, which are our forearm bones. And then they have the thumb right here, and those little projection are the fingers that come down. The legs kind of form the legs and the arms and the fingers form the framework of the wings, right? So it's got the real thin flap of skin that goes all throughout, and the fingers, the arms, the legs, those all are formed to that skin to give it the framework so that he can fly. And then he's got real strong muscles right here at his chest that help him flap his wings down. But so with our arms, we have the humerus right here, goes from our shoulder down to our elbows, and then we have the radius and the ulna in our forearms. And a good way to be able to see where our radius and our ulna is you can kind of form an R with your thumb, right? And so the radius is right here. You can form the R with your thumb, the radius follows. The ulna is underneath. Ulna underneath, radius R. So forming the R right there, radius right here, ulna on bottom. Which is super helpful if you ever need to figure out where your radius and ulna are. But yeah, so something that's really cool about their legs is their knees are backwards compared to ours. Our knees bend forward, right? Their knees bend backwards. And then a lot of times they're gonna be hanging like this, right? With their arms wrapped around them, just so they can, that's how they sleep. Hanging down, right? So yeah. All right, so let's go over to the skeleton, the snake skeleton. Do snakes have teeth? They don't really have teeth like we've seen. They do have these little claws that they can use to, they're not claws, but little sharp little teeth like hooks that can grab onto things so that it can, if it's a constrictor, so that it can bite it, wrap around it really tight and squeeze, right? But if it's a venomous snake, it'll bite with its fangs, secrete the venom, and it'll probably just wait until it dies. But I'm gonna see if you can see it. It's gonna be kind of hard to look at, but you can see those hooked teeth right there. Sorry, you gotta look through a lot of the glass to kind of see it. But yeah, perfect. So you can see those hooked teeth. And then it's got all these ribs, right? Snakes have a lot of bones. So whenever it's eating something, it'll bite down onto it. Let's say it's a constrictor, right? So let's say it's a constrictor. It'll bite down onto the prey, right? And then it'll squeeze it real tight to where it'll suffocate, and it'll start swallowing it whole. And if it's bigger than its skeleton, what will happen is, so say it's a really big, prey, he's gonna have to undo his jaw. He can unhinge his jaw, kind of move it around the body, wiggle it around the body, and then start to swallow it. And so say it's a little bit bigger than his ribs, it'll be moving all along right here. But say the ribs are smaller, right? So say my fingers are the ribs, they're smaller than the food, but as the food goes through, the ribs are gonna start to expand like that. And so that's how you can see the food going through the snake. Whenever the snake's eating, you can see that big lump of food. The ribs are gonna expand like that to allow the food to pass through and digest, which is really cool. Yeah. So these guys have really, really thin bones. I'm going to read a couple of these, not all of them because I'd be reading for a long time, and you could probably just read this book somewhere else if you want to. But I'm going to show you a lot of cool ones that I can talk about a little bit.
We'll post the book in the comments.
Yeah, so this book is called Book of Bones, 10 Record-Breaking Animals by Gabrielle Balkan. If I said that right, I'm sorry if I butchered your name, Gabrielle. And so let's go ahead and look at some of them. I'm going to go... Okay, this is cool. Let me get a little bit closer. All right. Guess who has the smallest bones? So if you can figure out the animal before I flip to the other page, try and guess. All right. I'm going to read it and then I'm going to give you some hints. But try and guess the animal before I flip to the other page. It's going to be a little mini game that we can do. All right. Guess who has the smallest bones? I am teeny tiny. My skull is smaller than your pinky nail. Inside my skull are my ears. And inside my ears are the smallest bones in the world. My hammer, anvil, and stirrup bones. You have these bones too. Yours are about as long as an eyelash. Mine are about the size of this dot right here. It's a really small dot. Can you guess? Can you guess who it is? Alright, so I'm easily startled and very shy. I scurry through farmlands, gardens, and olive groves, and I have a venomous bite. So whenever I was reading this, I didn't know what it was until I saw I have a venomous bite. And I remembered a long time ago when I was a little kid, when I lived in Okinawa, Japan, I was outside, right? And my dad walked out and he saw the Etruscan Shrew, right? So the shrews have a venomous bite that's really not good for you. It'll hurt a lot. And so it says, I am the world's smallest mammal. I am small enough to bathe in a soup spoon. Both your tiny ear bones and my tiny ear bones have a giant job. They vibrate to help us hear. We are lucky. Not all animals have vibrating ear bones. So we also have vibrating ear bones. The same bones that they have in there, but they're just a little bit bigger. They're called the malleus, the incus, and the stapes, right? And whenever you're first born, they're actually formed to your jaw. They're actually formed to your jaw, and they'll break off, and then they'll form right there. But it says, not all animals have vibrating ear bones. Snakes, frogs, and birds do not. They can hear, of course, but they can't hear anything that I can. My hearing is very sensitive and absolutely superb. My ear bones help me hear and find grasshoppers to eat and help me hide from owls who want to eat me. So the Etruscan Shrew is really, really tiny. Look how big he is compared to the ladybug. Ladybugs are pretty small, right? So, yeah, really, really cool. All right, the most bones we talked about. The most bones, right? You can already tell it's a snake. All right, hopefully you'll be able to tell it's a snake. I would hope. All right, so you are born with about 300 bones in your body. I think it's around 270 to 300. I'm pretty sure it's 270. You are born with 300 bones in your body. I am born with more than 1,000 in mine. More than 1,000 in mine. Most of my bones run up and down my long spine. Touch the center of your back. Can you feel those hard knobs? So if you feel your spine, you can feel the knobs right there, right? Each knob is a bone called a vertebrae. You have 33 vertebrae. I have about 400. It's a lot. And both of us, our vertebrae add up to make our bendy spines. I squeeze rats with my long body before I eat them. Head first, I have scaly skin and lay eggs, and I slither through the rainforest of Southeast Asia. So this is a vertebrae, right? So I'm not sure what kind of animal vertebrae this is right here, but you can see, especially with some, so something that's really cool, you can actually look. So you can see those small holes right here. Those are actually where the nerves go through. So the nerves will go through those small bones, those small holes in the bones, and that makes your spinal cord, right? Yeah, so this is a vertebrae. I'm not sure what animal this is. We have a bunch of bones, like just lying around, so I was looking at a bunch of them, and it's really cool to look at. But not all of them are easy to tell what kind they are, so it's a little difficult sometimes.
Someone said a boa for the...
Ah, close. Reticulated python. Yeah, you were close. They're kind of similar. They're a lot similar actually, but the reticulated python has a lot of bones. All right, you know what that is. It's a giraffe. I'm not gonna go to that one. You can tell by the shape of the skeleton. Okay, let's talk about the heaviest bones. You know what this is? Hopefully you know what it is, right? So guess who has the heaviest bone? The heaviest bone on land is inside the heaviest animal on land. Who's that? That's me. I'm me. Okay. Anyway, which bone is that? It's my humerus. So the humerus is, for right here, it's our leg bone. You can't see. I'm patting my leg. It's my leg bone. Their humerus would be right here. Or no, I'm sorry. Humerus is the arm bone. I'm sorry. Femur is the leg bone. I got that mixed up. Femur is your leg bone. Humerus is your arm bone right here. So humerus is right here. Okay. You have a humerus too. It's the long bone in your upper arm that runs from your shoulder to your elbow. My humerus is taller than a dining room table and can weigh 53 pounds. That's as much as a bucket of bowling balls. A bucket of bowling balls. Okay. And maybe even you. I roam Africa in giant herds. I'm the biggest animal on land, and I flap my giant ears to keep cool. You know who that is, right? He's got those long tusks. It's the African bush elephant. So if you guessed elephant, you were right. I'm the largest animal on land. My body can weigh up to 14,000 pounds. Wow. That's heavier than a helicopter, 2 forklifts, or 4 taxi cabs. To carry this heavy body of mine, my legs need to be extra strong. Extra strong bones need extra heavy bones, just like you and other mammals. The food I eat helps me grow strong bones. In my case, that food is 600 pounds of grass and tree bark a day. Whew, 600 pounds. And y'all are missing out too, because this picture, you can like feel the animals, and it's got like a nice little like pattern to it. Like, I can feel the elephant skin. All right, who's got the lightest bones? So we talked about the heaviest bones. This is the lightest bones. I'll give you a hint. This is the fastest bird. The fastest bird, right? People talk about, it depends on if it's like flying straight or diving. It's the fastest bird. Okay, anyway. The lightest bones. My bones are so light that they weigh less than my feathers. Wow. My light bones help me jump, take off, soar, dive, and land. All important skills for life in the sky. My bones are light because, unlike you and most mammals who have bones filled with bone marrow, which give the rest of the body, which gives the red blood cells oxygen, right? We talked about that earlier. So it says, we have bones filled with bone marrow. Mine are filled with holes, and these holes are filled with air. So it's nice and hollow inside. The bones are not dense, right? So they would probably float up in water, maybe. Yeah. They probably would. When I dive through the air, I'm the fastest animal in the world. Yeah, so when he's diving, he's the fastest animal. I prey on other birds and bats, and I build nests on mountain cliffs and skyscraper ledges.
We have one. Someone said a peregrine falcon?
You would be correct. You would be correct. I am a peregrine falcon. Yep. So from the tiny hummingbird to the mighty eagle, all flying birds have very light bones. But let's not quibble over which of us has the absolute lightest. My bones are light for my size and help make me the fastest animal in the world. Faster than a racehorse? Yup. Faster than a cheetah? Oh yes. When I dive for prey, I can reach speeds of 242 miles per hour. That's super fast. Faster than a car goes. Almost double than faster than a car goes. Well, faster than my car goes. My car's not that fast. So that's faster than a race car, like I just said. My large breastbone helps my wings flap extra hard, making me extra powerful and extra fast. Zoom, I love to fly. In fact, sometimes I fly 15,500 miles in a year. That's like traveling more than halfway around the world. Just super crazy. All right, we already talked about this guy. I'm going to give you a couple hints. He's got the thinnest bones. What does he look like? Can you guess? We talked about him. You can see the knees are kind of bending backwards, like I said. The long fingers. Nobody? The bat, right? All right, so let's talk about this one last one, and then we're going to be done. So the fastest growing bone. So who do you think has the fastest growing bone? Howdy, are you checking out my antlers? Get this, they are 6 feet wide. That's wider than a grand piano. They make for a grand entrance. Get it? Ha ha ha. My antlers are made of bone. It's the same kind of bone that makes up my and your skull. But these bones grow on the outside of my body. Know what else is surprising? They grow an inch each day. You probably grow 1 inch in 6 months. I use my antlers and hooves to defend myself. I live among the spruce trees and forests of chilly Alaska, and I usually live alone.
We have one.
Yeah,
Annabelle says a moose.
Nice. You would be correct, Annabelle. Alaskan moose. I like feeling the fur. Alright, anyway. I'm an Alaskan moose. So along with reindeer, elk, and other animals with antlers, I have the fastest growing bones in the world. My antlers grow from a tiny bump in my skull to full size in about 5 months. They can weigh 60 pounds. That's probably heavier than you. Not heavier than me, I'm a lot heavier than that. They are so heavy that it is hard to lower his head to eat grass. Instead, I eat what I can find up high, like tree bark and pine cones. Delicious. The healthier food I munch, the faster my antlers grow. The bigger they are, the better. And it's the size of my antlers that attracts my mate. Why, hello there. That's what it said right there. Yeah. So you can the moose has really fast growing bones and they're really heavy for his neck, so you'll never see a moose eating down in the grass. He'll always be munching on some coniferous trees right there. Right there, he's got that nice little pine cones, munching on stuff like that. Alright, so one of the last things we're doing, y'all. We are going to see if you can guess these skulls. So right here, we'll go ahead, we'll start with this one. So right here, this is hidden a little bit close to home. We have this nice skull. You can see how it kind of elongates down. This is only one part of it. You can see it does have teeth, right? So the teeth are all gone, but it does have these holes where the teeth would be, and there's a lot of them, right? So what do you think this is? What do you think it is? Let's see if anyone guesses. I'll give you a little bit of time. Really smart. These animals are really, really smart. Did anybody guess a dolphin? This would be a dolphin skull, which is super cool to look at. Super awesome. Yeah. All right, and then this next one. It's got some antlers, right? Or it's got some horns, not antlers. You can look at its teeth. These were the teeth that I was saying look similar to it. So Jason's gonna go grab those teeth for me. But it's got these nice big teeth to break down stuff, the surface area, so you can look, they look a lot similar, right? So they look pretty similar. I don't know where they would go. They'd probably go back here, something like that. They're pretty big, so they'd go in the molars area. But this is used to break down grass, right? So these guys only eat grass. There's one hint, they only eat grass. Well, they can eat some other, like mostly vegetation, but that's what they're going to be eating in the fields and grasslands. So they live in fields and grasslands.
Annabelle says a bison.
You would be correct, Annabelle. You're on a roll. So this is a bison. Bisons only live up to 2 to 5 years, which is pretty crazy because they're super, super big, but they don't live very long, which is kind of sad, but it's okay because they're really beautiful. They have them in the plains of central United States, right? I almost said Central America, but central United States, central like where the Great Plains are, and they roam a lot. So they're in South Dakota, North Dakota a lot, and they roam to find the vegetation so that they can eat, right? Yeah. So these guys are super cool. What did the buffalo say to his kid when he was leaving for school? Bye, son. All right. I'm glad y'all were able to stay with us today. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We are going to do an animal presentation.
Yeah, hedgehog and sugar gliders.
Nice. So we're going to be doing the hedgehog and sugar gliders tomorrow, so that'll be super fun. And then make sure to stay tuned on Thursday. I will be back again here doing another bones lesson. We're going to kind of do a little bones series, so that'll be fun. All the lessons that I'm going to be doing are kind of connected. But we look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.